Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and after a very active week last week where we chased storms over in Kansas and Oklahoma and Arkansas, we've had a much cooler last couple of days. You've noticed that freezing air come in. We had frost warnings all throughout the region the last couple of days, and yeah, the pattern is going to very quickly flip back next week to a much more favorable severe weather pattern. And I'll go over the ensemble models with you, the GEFS and the European ensemble, and I'll give you all a first-hand look of kind of the pattern we're moving into. That is going to be a little more conducive for possibly some severe weather somewhere on the eastern United States. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a slight risk for day 5 over here in the Oklahoma Panhandle, southern Kansas, northeastern Texas, and they have yet to introduce anything for day 6 and day 7. That'll be Monday and Tuesday time frame, going into next week. But it's possible that once they get a more refined idea of a little more localized area of severe potential, they're more likely to issue that 15% somewhere over here in this general vicinity. So let's go ahead and dig into the models. This is the Global Forecasting System Ensemble, the GFS. And what I'm not going to do what you'll see a lot of these other sites are pushing out on various social media platforms. You'll see them just taking one run, showing a doomsday scenario, and then when it doesn't come to fruition, they just move on to the next one like the last prediction they made never happened. And that's not what we do here. We use the best available data with what we have. We use the ensembles in the long range because that's what you're supposed to do when forecasting, because those singular runs, they'll be gone the next run, or move north 50 miles or move south 60 miles. So we don't do that here. What we do is we look at an ensemble look that takes over 100 plus runs of the same model, pushes them all together for a general synopsis of what could happen. And as you'll see, we get in, it gets a lot less organized, because that just shows you the farther you get out, the less agreement that the models have. And that's just how the models work. The farther you go out, usually past 5 or 7 days, they're just not reliable to take a one-run look. They're just not. That's why we look at the ensemble to get a better synopsis understanding of exactly what we could be looking at in the long range. And what we're not going to do in this video is we're not going to go over locations, we're not going to go over intensity, we're not going to go over placement, because we just don't know, and we would be putting bad information onto the internet, and that's not what we do. So starting off here on the 500 millibar heights, and this is the pattern we're locked into right now. This was this morning at 6 in the morning, and you see this belt of flow, this elevated 500 millibar flow that's drooping into the eastern United States. This is a very not favorable look for severe weather, because you got your ridging over here in the west. You see these wind barbs swirling to the right clockwise. That's your ridge. And over here you see counterclockwise flow. That's indicative of cyclonic flow or troughing, right? So we have a trough in the east, ridge in the west. That is your textbook not favorable look for severe weather. And that's why you see this colder air from aloft up in the Pacific Northwest being funneled in down to the eastern United States. And what that is, it's shot our moisture, it's shunted our moisture all the way down past the Florida, well deep into the Gulf of Mexico. And we're just dealing with cold, dry air on the backside of this upper level low that came through with various cold fronts. So we're sitting in cold, dry air right now. But as we transition, I'll go ahead and start playing the model into a little further into the week. You see another little perturbation come through, this mini little shortwave. But as we go through Saturday, we see this big western trough work its way in. And you can see some heights rising out here. You can see this ridging start to take place over here in the southeastern United States. So we're transitioning, and this is what you're seeing a lot of people on models start to panic about, is this troughing in the west. Now, this is a favorable trough, and it's positioned much more to the south. This is a much more favorable look. You get a good long wave trough, and you got to think this is the ensemble, right? So this is over 100 members. This is the weighted average. of what the models are portraying. And you get this big long wave trough that takes up the entire United States, working its way from west to east with ridging in the southeast. That is a much more favorable look for severe weather. And this is right here into that Sunday night time frame all the way into the Monday, Tuesday time frame as this trough works in. And when you get troughs like this, you can even see a little vorticity maximum, or this little embedded shortwave turn negatively tilted up here in the Midwest. But one thing to make note of is this is the same type of pattern we've seen time after time after time after time again this year, right? You get your big long wave trough come in, maybe negative or positively tilted to the left with your initial trough axis. With on the leading edge, you'll get this short wave that ejects negatively tilted into the region. So this falls in line to what we've seen so far this year, as far with that El Nino type of trough setup, where you get a lot of subtropical influence, you get much deeper flow, a lot less amplified. You're not seeing these big bowling ball troughs come in, just these static long waves that work their way in with embedded short waves like this that end up impacting deeper down the line. So this is the pattern that's got everybody worked up, and quite honest, it is a favorable pattern. Now, anyone who's trying to tell you that there's going to be a specified area of significant weather this far out, they're lying. They're straight up lying to you. But overall, it is a favorable pattern. In this video, we're going to look at two more products. That's all we're going to look into. We're going to go down to the 850 millibar map, and that gives us a general idea if we're going to get some lee cyclogenesis of a low-level cyclone that's going to be able to pump any moisture northward. For one, we need to be able to have moisture pumped forward, and then we also need to see if we're going to have that low-level shear, that those winds out of the south that are going to provoke organized severe weather. So as you see right in that time frame, that Sunday, this is Sunday night into Monday, we do get a ensemble agreement on a low-level cyclone here in the central United States. Somewhere, I'm not going to worry about locations, but there is a general consensus in some low-level flow returning into the region, into the eastern United States. So you can check that mark off the box as far as there be organized wind shear possibly present in the ensembles. Moving on to the height anomaly, where we kind of get a look at the air masses that are going to be colliding. What we really want to see is what type of troughing, and we're going to have really cold air aloft with this trough. And as you can see, the answer to that is a resounding yes. This is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? So something to note with this trough, you don't get as clear ridging and warming on the eastern side of this trough, at least through the ensembles. This little short wave that's going to come through a little bit before might be a little fly in the ointment, as it's going to hold these this moisture deeper down into the coast and make it a lot more difficult for this trough to come in those 850 millibar to get that low-level cyclone to pump those dew points northward. So this could be a hindrance to it. We need to definitely keep an eye on that. Normally for a slam dunk type setup, we would want to see this knot here and these higher heights, these warmer temperatures, just funnel up north, where you really get that collision of that those favorable two air masses somewhere here on the eastern United States. Alright, coming over to the European ensemble now, what we're doing is we're taking a look at an entirely different type of model and its ensemble runs and what it's showing over the next week. So coming in, this is Saturday and this is Sunday, and you're seeing much of the same, at least general synoptic pattern, where we have this large trough, this long wave trough invading from the west, crossing into the east with some ridging on the eastern side. Now you still see over here off the Atlantic coast, you see that short wave that we were talking about on the GFS. So that's going to continuously be a fly in the ointment as far as getting moisture northward. But it's the same overall general synoptic pattern. So we can use both of these together and kind of create a little bit more confidence that something is going to be happening somewhere in this time frame. dropping down to the 850 millibars, and as just like we were looking on the GEFS, we're over here on the Euro, we're looking for some sort of low-level response, right? A strong surface cyclone or upper-level cyclone that's going to pump those southerly winds northward, that's going to give us our dew points, our moisture that's needed from the Gulf, and then it's going to show us if we have that low-level shear that's needed for organized severe weather. And we do get some resemblance of a low-level cyclone right here. Same general vicinity. Timing's different, of course, because we're too far away. But same general consensus that a low-level cyclone is going to be traversing the Rockies, and we're going to have lee cyclogenesis somewhere in the central United States ahead of this trough as it progresses east. So definitely agreement in the overall long-range signal. Alright, dropping down, we're going over the height anomalies again, where it shows you the quality of your cold air aloft. And you see this initial shortwave that's coming through. It's showing the exact same thing on both ensembles, where we're pushing all our moisture down, and we're struggling to get some higher pressure into the region. But you do have that colder air aloft. Looks to be centering it a little further south. But as I said, we're not going to hold any weight to this as of right now. And we get that trough ejection with that negatively tilted shortwave up here in the north, and then we get the broad trough axis down here to the south with a positively tilted axis here on the backside. So yeah, pretty similar synoptic look. As far as that trough coming in, it might do a better job over here on the European of getting those higher heights into the region behind this shortwave trough that comes through. But overall, definitely a favorable pattern look for at least a day or two of organized severe weather next week. We're going to leave it at that. As of right now, we're going to leave it at that, because we can't tell you with any confidence that anything else is apparent as of right now. We would be doing y'all a disservice. We would be doing our people a disservice, and we don't want to spread misinformation for clicks over on social media. That's not what we do here. Right now, all we can confirm is a favorable trough pattern is working its way through early next week, and we have a cold air trough coming in from the west that's going to support upper level support. That's going to give us the upper level support needed for trough ejection. That's going to favor severe weather, just like that. And then down in the low levels, we have favorable low level kinematics that's going to traverse the Rockies. We're going to get a low level cyclone that possibly might be able to pump our moisture northward and give us our low level shear that's needed for organized severe weather. And it's going to be really cold air aloft, and that's exactly what you want to see, colliding into a less cold air mass in the eastern United States and the southeast United States. So we might make this video, and in 2 days it might show that there's no risk for us. It might be off to the west or north, or it might not be a risk at all, depending on how our moisture return goes. So we're going to leave it at that. And as we get updates through the coming days, I'll continue to make videos, and make sure you're checking people on social media that are overhyping events and spreading misinformation just at the expense of the viewer. So I appreciate y'all if y'all took the time to watch, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Y'all stay safe.